What's up? All right, now let's get situated. So we're gonna move the mic cord from around the stand. I'm gonna come closer.
Ooh, yeah.
Diane's in the building. Hi, Diane. I know who you are, and you're in the building. What's up, Creative Mornings? You guys feel okay? I wasn't sure how I wanted to start this thing. I put mics in my hand, and I entertain people, right? I introduce people because I host events. It's usually, coming to the stage next is, I do that. But I am not gonna do that today. I'm just gonna tell a story. I think one story. I think we probably, what time is it? Yeah, we got time for probably one story. So we'll do that. I'll share some things. We're gonna end our time the same way I end my podcast, the 40 Lessons podcast. If you haven't heard it, check it out. I end that with my hope for you, my hope for us. So we'll do that. Does that sound like a plan? And I guess if there's time, we can ask, there can be questions. If you guys have questions, if you wanna say stuff. Is that cool for our time? I do have to say, you are in the Robinson Theater. And I've spent the last 7 years of my life sewing into this place, helping to lead this place. We are this amazing resource here in the East End, here in Churchill. It's an historic theater. There were 2 theaters up here in the East End. It was this one, and it went to Liberty Public House. That was the other one. And this is where people would gather, just like this. They would come in with their families, with their friends. Many times they were being entertained. Many times they were just saying hello and being neighbors. So you're in this place, and we exist to be this really great resource to this neighborhood. And on June the 8th, write it down, show up, come hang out with me. We're doing our In the Sun Again community block party. I'm hosting the event, so you'll get me see do that thing. Jay Tucker and the crew will be in the building, so we'll be out here. But come back on June 8th is our time to come together and really celebrate this neighborhood. We got a lot of sponsors who come out and partners who come out, so please, June 8th, write it down, that Friday night, 5:30, right outside here, unless it's raining, and then we'll be inside. Because it's not good to get your instruments wet. Right, all right. The other thing I do want to say is, I get to talk to high school students a lot, but you guys are my peers, and you are some of the dopest, coolest, flyest, good-lookingest people. For real, like this is special to me, because I know what you guys do. Like, I've sat with you, I've talked with you, I've heard your challenges, I've heard your frustrations, and I've celebrated your accomplishments. I'm about to eat waffles from this man in a few months with his new spot. Like, there's some things that you guys are doing that are fantastic. And so I'm honored to have this little space to tell you a little bit about me, but I appreciate you guys. The moments that we have like this are special. So I get to produce one of them, TEDx RVA, but I get to show up to Creative Mornings or Mindful Mornings or Healthy Mornings or Money Mornings. There's so many damn mornings, but all the mornings are good. And I said I wasn't gonna curse, because my daughter might watch this. Sorry, baby. But there are so many mornings, and these are special moments because it's an opportunity for a deposit. Some seeds sown into some good ground, and hopefully it bears fruit in all of our lives. So I'm glad that we have this moment. I do some stuff. People say, Todd, what do you do? Because we don't know what you do. Like, you're everywhere. How? Do you sleep? Do you eat? Yes, 6 hours. The phone goes on Do Not Disturb, 11 o'clock. So those of you who are having some challenge with balance, put it on that little Do Not Disturb mode. Just don't get notifications. So if you text me after 11, sorry, I will not get it. Because it's my time. It's sleepy time. It's kind of not sleepy time right now. It's Westworld time. That's what's happening at 11. Anyway. So I do stuff. And many of you probably don't even know why I do the stuff that I do. So I thought could I tell you why? Would that be cool? So to do that, I have to tell you a story. So it's story time. And I have to tell you about Helen. Helen is this beautiful, beautiful, amazing woman. She was born on a farm. I guess technically she wasn't born on a farm, but she was raised on a farm. Any person ever lived on a farm or been a farmer? Okay, I don't know that life at all. I know it's hard. And for Helen, her life was complicated. Her dad, he was just never learned to read or write, just never got access to education. And he was a bitter man, he was an angry man, he was a broken man. So for Helen and her brothers and sisters, he was just abusive, verbally, physically. And so as a young girl, the things she heard weren't affirming. She didn't hear hope. She didn't hear love. She didn't hear joy like our little girls should. And then she had to work. She had to spend time working on the farm. So when she should have been coloring or playing with dolls, her hands were in dirt. So her dad, he had this kind of job where he needed labor. And so his kids were the labor. And if he was successful, he got to stay on the farm. But if he didn't grow enough, if he didn't produce enough, that he had to leave. And so Helen is working, and it's cotton. And I've seen it once, but from what I hear, it's hard on your hands to harvest cotton. And so this little girl with her hands in the dirt works pulling cotton. And sometimes she gets to go to school, but if there's work to do in the field, she's in the field and not going to school. Helen has an aunt, and her aunt is so different than any other woman that she knows. Helen didn't know her mom. She unfortunately passed away when she was young. But her aunt, oh my gosh, she was this beautiful, amazing woman, just elegant and loving and gracious and kind, and she would bring gifts. She would bring clothes, she'd bring books, and she would just give hugs and kisses, and Helen would experience that love. And it started to change how she saw herself and the world around her. And on one of those trips, Helen decided, I'm getting out. This little girl said, I am not staying here. I'm gonna be with my aunt. I'm gonna go there. It took some time. It took years of working in those fields, kneeling down in that dirt. But she did it. This little girl turned into a teenager, and she got out. She went to the city, and she did what her dad never did. She graduated high school. She accomplished something that surpassed anything she had ever seen in her life. It was amazing. She got married. She had a husband. She started a career taking care of other people. Time goes on, and she's pregnant. And this little baby is growing inside of her. And she starts to imagine the world for this baby. She knows where she's come from. She knows what she's gone through. She knows what she's experienced. And now she's thinking about the life of this little baby inside her. She says, I want life to be better for this baby. How many of you have kids, right? Isn't that what we want? We just want it just better. Just not my struggle, not my pain, not my challenge, not my difficulty, just better. Baby's born. And her life shifts. Everything she does, who she is, every decision she makes, it's about this baby. And making sure that baby has access to things and access to places and access to resources. She shifts everything in her life to securing a good life for that baby. You guys want to see Helen? Can I show you Helen? You might recognize that good-looking kid right there. That's a dope outfit. I mean, I'm killing it with that frog right there. That's Helen. It's my mom. I'm probably going to cry at some point, so just know that's going to happen. The things she did. What she suffered through. Imagine being a little girl, and you can't do what little girls are supposed to do. You're forced. My granddaddy, Hugh, sharecropper, worked on land he would never own. Illiterate his whole life, disconnected purposely from education, living in Jim Crow, living in segregation. My mother told where she could walk and where she could not walk, flees all of that to get to New York. And then there's me. I realized this as I was preparing for this. Commitment is about saying yes. I say yes every single day to a lot of things. In particular, I think about the yeses that I say to this community, to you all. The roots of my commitment are in that field. The roots of my commitment are in the dirt of South Carolina, in the cotton fields of South Carolina. And they're deep. They're buried in the roots and around the dirt that my grandfather walked on, that my mother walked on. If you follow those roots a little bit lower, they're sitting next to the bones of my ancestors. The bones of that very first African who's put his foot on South Carolina soil. That's the root of my commitment. It's that deep. I know what it cost for me to stand in this room. I know what it took. And I honor that. I honor that with every board meeting that I go to. I honor that with every event that I host. I honor that with every conversation, with every exec director that I have. I honor that because my roots are deep in the dirt of South Carolina. I know where I come from, and it anchors me. Commitment's hard, y'all, right? But I'm anchored in the dirt of South Carolina because I know what it costs to get me to this place. And so when I don't want to, when I don't feel like, when it's too hard, when I lose hope, when it's too difficult, and I still cry, and these streets don't change, and there's still inequity, and there's still injustice, my roots are deep in the fields of South Carolina, and I'm anchored strong. I wrote down a few things that I say yes to. I want to unpack a couple of them. I can't unpack all of them because we will be here, and some of you guys have to go to work. Shout out to my team. Hey, thank you guys for handling stuff while I am right here, so appreciate you guys. That's for later, you know, they play the video back. It's like, oh, he said something to us. We're not, this is not live, we're not, I don't know. Some of you may be on Instagram Live, Facebook Live, because you guys like to do that stuff. Okay. Let me read this one to you. You guys still doing okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. I say yes to mission and fighting against injustice and equality. Because I've heard the horrible, nasty words of racism spoken to my face. And I've been accosted by the police. But I'm here, and I'm alive to talk about it. I say yes because my mom and my dad and my aunts and my uncles and grandparents were told what doors they could walk through, what toilets they could sit on, where they could eat, where they could walk, and where they could live. So part of the story is that I told you Helen did what was necessary to secure a better future for her child, right? So we didn't have the intervention programs in Linden where I grew up. So the schools were just bad. Right? So there was no Churchill activities and tutoring, there was no community in schools, there was no Art 180, there was none of the programs, all the great things you guys work for and volunteer for, no Robinson Theater. If you wanted to go to a better school, what did you do? You moved. My mom found the whitest community she could afford. The truth was, in the late 70s, that's what you kind of had to do. If you wanted to go to a good school, you had to get educated with the white people. There were 2 brown people in my school, me, Mrs. Teasley. From kindergarten through 5th grade, I was educated with some of the most racist, nastiest, most horrible kids. The parents were racist and taught their kids the language of racism. I got called all the words to my face, spit in my face, fights. My mom, look, Helen, what? You said what? Mr. Geyser was afraid of my mom. Seriously. What happened to my child? Who said what? Mom, you can't hit the kid. Like, you can't. You're not gonna mess with my, look. But I heard it. So it's this little brown boy trying to navigate life between Hazlitt and this really, really white school and Linden. I didn't fit in either place. The white kids didn't like me because I was black, and the black kids didn't like me because I acted white, and I struggled to figure out who I was. It took years, like I was 30 in counseling, figuring this out, that 30, all right. It took years for me to figure out the power of forgiveness. So I said that I'm committed to mission and fighting against injustice because I've seen it, I've been a victim of it, but I've extended forgiveness. And so for all of you who are white, who know me, and we're connected together, I can love you and be in a relationship with you because I had to extend forgiveness. I don't put on you what people put on me. The hate they put on me, I don't put on you. You didn't do this. I don't connect you to the horrible things that happen in this country because I understood the power of forgiveness. So I'm committed to it. Injustice is real, inequity is real, and we gotta push against it. The reason why our city looks the way that it does is because there are people who devalue the folks who look like me, who are poor. So they said, put them all on the East End and make the highway run this way and make the bus routes go this way, and housing's gonna work like this. They decided because they didn't value folks who look like me. And we're tearing that down every day, every year, making better choices because we value people. We value justice. We value equity. So I'm committed to it because I've been a victim of it, but I extended forgiveness. I say yes to tearing down the walls that divide us because they were built with fear to keep us from receiving the power of love in our lives. I say yes to letting both the creative and analytical, that's wrong. That is wrong. Jolinda, that is not what it says. I say yes to letting both the creative and analytical part of me live in harmony together. I dismiss the lie that I have to be one or the other. I choose both of them and support each other. Let them support each other because this is who I am, and that is what I am at my best. I learned this one the hard way. So I mentioned I was in counseling at 30. I'm sorry, this little cord keeps wrapping around the water bottle. Here we go, I'm gonna do this. Okay, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
What's your name?
Allie.
Hi, Allie. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Having a good time?
Yes.
Cool, hi. Hi. So I said I was in counseling when I was 30. When I didn't let the artist in me live and breathe. So part of me as a kid, remember I said I didn't fit any place? You know how I survived that? My mom's 45 collection. I would sit and listen to those records, and the artist in me just came to life. James Brown. And I would sit there with my hands on my feet, and I knew who I was. I knew who I was because nothing around me was telling me anything good about who I was. But those records, that music, it just came out of me. I started writing poetry when I was in high school, just to cope, because it was high school, but to cope into this deal, and I put my words down, and I have dyslexia. And the fact that I could figure out how to articulate something in the written word was amazing to me. So I get to my 30s, and I think, I got it now, I know who I am. And I went to work. I got married. And the artist just died. I put myself into work, so many hours, so much commitment to be the best project manager, analyst, engineer that I could be. and the heart of my wife just crumbled. I couldn't love, couldn't receive love. My marriage ends. And I remember being home, and she said, if you could just get your hand on a notebook, just try. Just try it. She knew we were done. She knew it wasn't going to continue, but she said, just try it. And so I did. And slowly the artist started to breathe again. Healing came. The depression left. The anxiety stopped. It costs too much for me not to be who I am. It costs too much for me to not let the artist create and sing and play and perform. It costs me too much. So I'm committed to it. As hard as I work, as much as I do, I played the piano before I got here. I sit in my house on my drums or my piano at least 10 times, at least 10 minutes every day. That's my discipline. I'm working on a new book of poetry coming out at some point. So I write. Not because it's practice, not because I'm getting ready for a show, because I just need to be an artist, and the artist has to create, and that's what I have to do because I can't be a good dad if I don't. I can't. I can't be good to this community. I can't be good to you if I don't do that. It's life for me. And so yes, I love to put my hands on the keyboard and write code, but I could put my hands on that other keyboard and play a C chord or maybe E flat. Be like that little 4-year-old boy and throw on a James Brown record and play along with those licks. So I say yes to being both creative and analytical and just being me. Can I do a couple more and then, you guys okay? All right. There's a lot of crying in this talk. I say yes to people because I learned the hard way that people matter more than things, more than money, more than my busy schedule and all the things that I think I have to do. More than the limit my insecurities put on me or when I worry about what other people think of me. I say yes to boundaries and being present as a daddy. Because I know what it's like when you don't know if your daddy's coming home. I know what it's like to miss him when he's gone. I know what it's like when you see him leave. Helen married Sammy. And Sammy, like his dad, and like my grandfather, struggled with his identity. My counselor gave me this really good thing to think through. She said, imagine being your dad, being your age, in the 60s, in Queens. And that's your door. Not this door, that door. And everything in your world tells you you are less than. You're not as good. You're not as capable. Married to your mom, strong, independent, confident woman, persevering through all of that. My dad struggled. So all his drinking, all his drugs, all his smoking was the cope. He didn't have the tools. He didn't have the help. He didn't go to counseling. He didn't experience forgiveness. Well, that's not true. He did after the last surgery. The Sammy, the last year of his life, I was 7 years old, right? The last year. So loving, so kind, because all his vices literally were cut away. His lung was gone, the tumor was in his brain, and he saw it. Chemo was destroying his life. I don't have that model of a really good dad. I have a dad that was inconsistent and an addict. I have uncles who are alcoholics. And so a lot of what I do is the opposite. I made a promise to my dad. And he asked me to just never be like him. I didn't understand the gravity of that as a small 8-year-old. I get it now. I know what it costs to not be present as a parent. So for any of you who have kids, just choose them first. Choose yourself, choose your spouse, choose your kids, choose your partner. So I've seen it, and so I have this boundary with my daughter. She's got to get all of me. Because I know what it's like to have a dad that wasn't there. All right, we're bringing this thing home. Because I don't think you guys can take much more. Last one. I say yes to this city. I say yes to the East End. I say yes to Churchill. I say yes to my block. Because mission and service happens right where you are. You don't have to search for it. It's right there. You have a chance to pour into someone else. It's right in front of you if you open your eyes up and give yourself over to it. Okay, let's end this the way we do the podcast. All right, shout out to Cheats Movement for putting me on. All right. We're going to start the podcast and end the podcast. You ready? Is that cool? All right. 40 lessons. All right, that's how it starts. This is the Creative Morning episode of the 40 Lessons podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of it. This is my hope for you. Some of you are just kind of casual with the things that are around you. You haven't really committed. You're kind of dating. You're checking it out. You're talking. You're texting a little bit. But you haven't committed. My hope for you is that you will just, I don't care what it is, just pick something. Pick something and say yes every day. Yes. The person who wants to journal, just say yes. The person who wants a different diet and eat different foods, just say yes to the right foods. Just say yes. For those of you who have already said yes, make sure you know where you're anchored. And let that secure you. So when it's hard and it's difficult and you don't want to say yes anymore, I feel like this flowetry is coming to mind. I'm surprised I haven't dropped the alert before now. Think about the anchor, the root, and what secures you. This is my hope for us. My hope for us is that we will pour out to the city. It needs you. You are, is it what, 200 people in this room? Yeah. 200 of the most amazing people, and this city needs you. There are children who need you. There are parents who need you. There are grandmamas and granddaddies aging in place who need you. Our schools need you. Our places of work need you. We need your energy, your expertise, your insight, your experience, your stories, who you are, your smile, your joy, your hugs, your kisses. There's so much you have to give. And it costs too much when you don't. So my hope for you, my hope for us, my hope for my little girl is that you will pour. Be light, be joy in the city, wherever you are. Know your anchor, stay committed, stay true. That's my hope. All right, we're done. That's it. I ain't talking no more.
Appreciate you so much.